Thank you. There's the clicker for you to find an answer. All right.
Thank you. Those should be.
No, so this is for the live stream, and this one is for the speakers. So
they're so different distances. Is that okay?
I think it should be okay. I'm going to turn this one on for you, so this one is on.
And do you think these front lights can come down at all?
I don't think I can do all of them. He said I have to stay up. Oh, okay.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here, and thanks especially also to the people who are joining us on our live stream of this event. We're very happy to have each and every one of you here tonight. I think most of you are graduate students who are new to Iowa State. Some of you are graduate students who have been at Iowa State as an undergraduate student, but are new to the world of being a graduate student, and it is quite a different world. So we're glad you're all here. Tonight is all about welcoming you, as this slide suggests. We want to make you realize how important you are to us at Iowa State University as graduate students. We recognize that graduate students are the leaders of tomorrow in academia and in all kinds of other positions of leadership in industry and in government and other realms throughout the world. We have alumni from the Graduate College in so many different countries all around the world doing great things, and you're going to be the next generation of those students, and we're really happy to have you here. Tonight we're going to be hearing from a few university leaders who want to make sure that you're aware of how glad they are that you're here as well. But I hope you'll indulge me for just a minute or two or three, I won't make it much longer than that, to give you a bit of background about Iowa State University from my perspective. I came here 40 years ago this year as an undergraduate student. I came here as a freshman, lived in Wallace Hall, one of the tower's dormitories, and stayed and did a graduate degree here before continuing my graduate work elsewhere. And now I'm Dean of the Graduate College. By the way, my name is Bill Graves. I guess I didn't say that, but it's on the program. And I can relate personally to what it's like to be a graduate student at Iowa State. I know what it's like to make the transition from being an undergrad to a grad student. So I wanted to try to help with my colleagues to make this event as useful to you as possible. And most of this evening is going to be devoted to you having free time to roam around the room. At the periphery of the room, you'll see a lot of tables set up where we have representatives from different offices on campus who want to make sure you're aware of how they can help you earn your graduate degree and have a great experience here at Iowa State. But I'd like to continue a few minutes with my perspective on Iowa State University. And to me, the first thing I want you to know is land-grant university. This is something I've been appreciating more and more. I think when I first came here, I didn't really think about it. And after I'd been here a while, I started hearing, oh, we're a land-grant school. I started putting together sort of what that meant. And I know some of you are from, I was walking around and meeting a few of you before the event. I know some of you are from universities that are not land-grant universities. So maybe this is a new term. How many of you have not heard this term before? Quite a few. So I would just like to say that a land-grant university was considered, to be a land-grant university was considered to be a revolutionary concept back in the 1800s. Because back in another era in this country, going to a university was something that only people from the highest upper classes did. It was an elite sort of activity. It was not considered accessible to people. But the Land Grant Act that the United States Congress passed in 1862 made universities like Iowa State available to many more people who didn't have access to higher education before that. And Iowa State has a proud tradition in the land-grant realm of universities. Back in 1858, when the university was founded, the governor of Iowa signed legislation putting the precursor of what we think of now as Iowa State University into existence. And Story County won out, the county where we are right now, won out over several others who battled with Story County to have the right to host this institution. Then in 1862, President Abraham Lincoln signed the Morrill Act. And in 1862, a little bit later on in the year, the Iowa General Assembly, the state government, passed the terms of the Morrill, or accepted the terms of the Morrill Act for the state of Iowa. This is really significant to know because Iowa was the first state in the country that accepted these terms. And we're very proud at Iowa State to have been the first state to accept the terms of the Morrill Act and get Iowa State started. And then the university continued to develop, and land was granted from the federal government. The word grant in the Morrill Act refers to the fact that federally owned land back then was made available to states, and the states could sell that land to raise money to establish these educational institutions. It was a really unique and revolutionary model that I don't believe had been attempted anywhere in the world before. The person responsible for all this, or at least a great deal of it, he had some partners in this, but is Justin Morrill. And we have a very prominent building on our campus, Morrill Hall, named after Justin Morrill. Justin Morrill was a senator from Vermont, and he worked with a couple of other senators from Illinois to spearhead this effort. So Iowa State has this proud tradition, and I encourage you to walk past the east side, I believe, of Beardshire Hall, where you'll see this plaque on display. Proclaiming that Iowa State is the first land-grant university. Back then, the campus looked really different from how it looks now. This is an early photograph from about 1875. None of the buildings pictured here exists any longer, but the original building on the university campus, the farmhouse, is still in existence, and you can take tours of that. It's a museum now. It's north of Curtis Hall. So I encourage you to stop in there sometime and take advantage of the history that you'll learn in that building. My last thoughts about the background of Iowa State relate to specifically the graduate college, because that's why we're all here, for your graduate education. And I just wanted to work through in 90 seconds or so a quick timeline. 145 years ago, the first graduate student registered at Iowa State. 145 years ago, in 1873. 141 years ago, the first graduate degree was granted in the discipline of botany. And that student was a student of Charles Bessey, Bessie Hall is a prominent building on our campus that houses a lot of life sciences and biological sciences programs. 122 years ago, George Washington Carver, who was the first African American to graduate from Iowa State earlier, was awarded a master's degree and then appointed to our faculty. And of course, Carver Hall on our campus is named after George Washington Carver. 105 years ago, the Graduate College was created. Actually, at that time, it was called the Graduate Division for the first few years. And the first dean of the college was Professor Buchanan, who served for a long time, as you can see. And we have a dormitory on our campus, Buchanan Hall, named after our first dean. And then 100 years ago, Ada Hayden became the first woman to earn a PhD at Iowa State, again in the discipline of botany. And within Bessie Hall, there's a herbarium, which is a collection of dried plant samples. It's like a museum of plants in dried form, is named in her honor. And there's also a large, beautiful park on the north side of town that I hope you can get to if you haven't discovered that yet, named Ada Hayden Park. So that was up to 100 years ago. Then 70 years after this, 70 years after 1918, that adds up to what? 1988. Another wonderfully talented woman like Ada Hayden graduated from Iowa State with her PhD and authored a dissertation that's titled here that you can see from the Department of Entomology. And last year, this talented person was named our first female president. And I'm pleased at this time to introduce Dr. Wendy Winterstein.
Well, Bill, thank you so much for that introduction. I don't want to encourage anyone to read my dissertation. I'm so honored to serve as the 16th president of Iowa State University. I came here as an undergraduate from Kansas State University, began working in the field for Iowa State University Extension, so started as a professional and scientific staff member, became a graduate student, was successful, at least in the eyes of some, was appointed to the faculty in the Department of Entomology and worked my way up the ranks of faculty. I bring this up only to share with you, I'm only the second alum of Iowa State University to be named president. The previous president to be in that role was President Hilton, who got an undergraduate degree here in animal science. So just more history for you to know about this great university that we are all part of. Bill Graves is Dean of the Graduate College, and now I can't see where he went because there he is in the back by the fireplace. I just want you all to know how committed he is to your success. He cares deeply about you. He cares deeply about each of you, as does the staff in his office. And so as you think about the Graduate College, you have a home there. You obviously also have a home in the department, in college, where you are going to be doing your research, where you're going to be engaged in your studies. But the Graduate College is an important part of Iowa State University, and we have great leadership there, and we're just so proud to have Bill Graves in the role of Dean. You should know that Bill Graves reports to the Provost, John Wickert. I'm going to make John Wickert stand up. John. This is Provost Wickert, Senior Vice President and Provost Wickert. A round of applause for the Provost. So all the deans report to the provost, and just as Bill Graves does, he cares about you too. We have a great administrative team, and they're all going to be working with you to help you be successful. As the 16th president, I want you to know that one of my priorities is that we strive to become the most welcoming and inclusive land-grant university in the nation. That we care deeply about the members of our community. We care deeply about all of our students, including all of you. So we want you to have a great experience here. We want you to feel welcomed and included. And I want you to know that that is one of my goals as president of this great university. I'm also very interested in how we use science to bring about innovation, because I think innovation is how we move forward into the future. And I think in a state like Iowa, innovation is what leads to entrepreneurship, and it leads to economic opportunities. And I'm going to go on just for a minute and just share one quick story. I was out in the state earlier this year at a conference over in Cedar Rapids, and an older man came up to me, and he looked a lot like Santa Claus, a big white beard and white hair, and he said, well, I'm David Nicholas, and I'm the inventor of the technology that allowed us to encode text for the fax machine. Do you all know what a fax machine is still? Okay, excellent. And I said, well, that's just wonderful, and I turned around and walked away and asked my communications director if, in fact, this was David Nicholas, because I wanted to just make sure, it could be anybody. And it was, in fact, David Nicholas. And what you should all know is that David Nicholas, as a PhD student in electrical engineer, made this discovery, made this advancement in technology on how to encode text for the fax machine. This was a big deal. And after he left Iowa State and went to work for an engineering firm over in Cedar Rapids, he came back and said, you should protect the intellectual property that I developed while I was a PhD student at Iowa State University. And the university kind of said, well, we don't know. Is that something we can do? And so they all finally agreed, and the university hired a lawyer out of Chicago, and they went to court. And in the end, the settlement was $40 million. So that was the value of protecting David Nicholas's intellectual property of figuring out how to encode text for the fax machine. So this is what can happen through science and engineering, that you can truly change the world just like David Nicholas did, and just like he came up and shared with me at that meeting in Cedar Rapids. So I want us to have a welcoming, inclusive university. I want to have a university where science leads to innovation, where innovation changes the world, changes the opportunities for all of us, whether it's in Iowa, the nation, or the world. Well, I really have just 3 messages that I want to leave with you tonight. The first is, building on, again, Dean Graves' comments, you are the next generation. You are on a path, and the path that you are on is pretty clear. You're in graduate school. You have a set of goals you want to achieve, and so I encourage you to work hard, to be successful in the goals that you set for yourself, and to see clearly where you want to be in the future, because if you see where you want to go, then you know what you need to do to get there. So know you're on that path, and know that clearly, and work hard so that you can be successful. I want you also to know that it's important that you care about yourself deeply, that you care about your health, your wellness, that you care about all aspects of how you are doing as an individual. And I'll never forget, I think I'm looking down into the audience, was it last year that we had the first graduate college wellness week? So this is a big deal. Be sure that you take care of yourself and that you are healthy in all aspects of your being, and that will help you meet those goals that you've outlined for yourself on that path that you are on. Next, I would say if you need help, you should request assistance. And you may request that assistance from your major professor, it may be from your department chair, it may be from Dean Graves, from the provost, it could be from Senior Vice President Martino Herman and his staff, it could be from Dean Vernon Hurt in the Dean of Students office. But there is a lot of opportunity for individuals out there to stand up with you and help you if you find that you need assistance. So don't be afraid to request assistance if you need it. So those are my 3 big messages about what I encourage you to do while you're here as graduate students. And I would end by one final statement, and that is about the need for you to communicate about your work. This past year, I had the opportunity to watch Bill Graves and John Wickert stand up in front of a group of our donors and alums at Iowa State University with a panel of graduate students who did the 3-minute thesis. And it was a big deal. The audience was wowed by the ability of a graduate student to really tell in 3 minutes what is the work that they are doing. And if we can continue to have that be a high priority, that you can communicate with your neighbor, that you can communicate with a state legislator, that you can communicate with Congress about the importance of science and engineering for the future of this country, then we all know you will have made a difference. So I say good luck. We all wish you the very best, and we know you're going to have a great year. So welcome to all of our new students, and welcome back to all of those who have been here for a little bit, and certainly welcome to all of our students who are joining us online. It's my pleasure to serve as your president. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Winterstein. Our next speaker is Dr. Martino Harmon, who is Senior Vice President for Student Affairs here at the university, and we're going to make a slide switch. I don't have a picture of you to put up here, but
that's a good thing.
I'm sorry.
Just leave that one up. It's okay. I can start while you're doing that because the video's near the end.
I don't have an actual PowerPoint. I just have
No, right, that's right. Yes. Good evening. Good evening. Okay, you're with me. Good. Thank you. Thank you, Dean Graves. Thank you, President Winterstein. Also want to thank Joshua for inviting me to this event. This is such an exciting time of year. I want to thank you for choosing to be with us here at Iowa State University, and I'm really thrilled at this next part of your adventure. That's what we talk about at Iowa State, your adventure as a graduate student here. So thank you, and I also want to compliment you on coming to this program tonight. You know, sometimes graduate students think, I don't need an orientation, I know what college is about. But every college is different, every university is different. So you come tonight to learn what Iowa State has to offer and how we can support you. So I compliment you on that. It's really exciting to be enrolled as a graduate student, but also understand that there can be different stressors associated with being a graduate student. Many of you may be teaching for the very first time in your career. You are likely to be working on a research project at some point, if you want to graduate. You're working in a department on campus, and maybe some of you are working in student affairs. Can I get a show of hands for those of you who are working in student affairs? Please, maybe? Okay, well, they must be working right now. Some of you have family that are here with you that you are taking care of. And oh, by the way, you have to also think about completing your program as well. So that can be stressful. But at Iowa State University, we work to create a culture of care, connectiveness, and belonging. And that's how we support you here at Iowa State. That's part of our culture. That's who we are. President Winterstein spoke to that. We want you to be well. We want you to seek out resources and services. Some of you may think that the Division of Student Affairs is just for undergraduate students. And I'm going to disprove that theory tonight. This will be a little interactive part of the presentation, because we really want to make sure you take advantage of the different departments that we have in student affairs. So let me test my theory. So all you have to do is pay attention. So put down your phones, unless you want to take a picture of me. No, don't do that. But just all you have to do is really pay attention. And when I make a statement, if it applies to you, just raise your hand. Very, very simple. So I would imagine at some point, some of you will want to eat. Okay, if there wasn't a hand up, I'd be really concerned. Well, on campus, ISU Dining is a self-operated dining service. That means that it's our own dining service. It's not contracted. And what that really means is that we can be responsive to the needs of our students. We're not bound by any contractual arrangement. So we have residential dining in our residence halls, catering, vending, cafes, convenience stores on campus, plenty of places to eat at Iowa State. In fact, many of our dining venues just underwent a facelift this past summer. So make sure, here's a tip, make sure you make it to Clyde's, okay? You'll find it. They have milkshakes. This is something new. I was really excited about that. I went there today. And then also there's a dining hall called Friley Windows. I know it is a dining hall. It's not windows, but it's called Friley Windows. There's a reason I won't explain. But they have rotisserie chicken. So some really cool spots here that you've got to check out. Now, some of you may be interested in or you might be living on campus. So show of hands if any of you are maybe thinking about it or already living on campus. Or maybe you work on campus. You're living on campus. Okay, at least one person agrees with me. Well, the Department of Residence, we actually house nearly 11,000 students in university housing on this campus. Some of our graduate students actually work in the housing department. But what I really wanted to make sure you are aware of is that we recently this year converted Wallace Hall, where Dean Graves, I think he lived, right? Wallace Hall to graduate and upper division housing. So this is something that we brought back that we used to do years ago. And we have furnished single rooms and no meal plan is required in that building. So you can not worry about having to use a meal plan as graduate students with a family that may be different. But we made this conversion because many graduate students are seeking an on-campus option. So just keep that in mind. And I don't want to think negative at all, but some of you at some point, you might get sick. Okay, raise your hand if you maybe. I don't want to jinx you, but you might get a little sick at some point. Well, if you become ill or stressed or need health services or you're looking for a place to work out, our health services, I think we have a table in here somewhere, there they are really here to provide a variety of different services for you. As President Winterstein said, student health and wellness is strongly linked and connected to academic success. At Iowa State, we really believe in holistic wellness, proactive wellness, emotional, social, physical, financial, environmental, intellectual, occupational, spiritual, and I can go on and on and on. But it's important for all of you to maintain a balance in your lives and to be interconnected. And that's why it's important to know that as graduate students. The Thielen Student Health Center provides primary care. We have a pharmacy, a lab, radiology services, physical therapy, immunizations, and tuberculosis testing. So really a pretty full-service clinic right here on campus. In addition, student counseling offers clinical appointments as well as crisis intervention. If you're trying to start the semester off right and you're looking to get into tip-top shape, which I know you all are already, you'll want to visit one of our recreation centers on campus. And I need you to challenge me to be there with you, okay? I am there from time to time, but I need you when you see me to say, have you been to State Gym? And then you will push each other together. So that's another opportunity to be well. And then what about stress? In reality, stress is a reality for many graduate students. So balancing work, class, family, all of that can cause stress. So when I talk about the holistic view of wellness, we started a student wellness program a couple years ago, and that really is a proactive way to really approach how you prevent unhealthy situations. I know they are here as well, and we have a group of peer educators. As a matter of fact, one or two are graduate students. So no matter where to start, we really focus on your health and wellness. A couple more questions. How many of you at some point might need money? Okay, I figured that would get a big response. Well, many of you are probably here on an assistantship, but there might be other forms of financial support that you might need. So the Office of Student Financial Aid is here to talk with you, whether it's about money management or loan opportunities or even potentially scholarships. I'm not sure if they're here tonight, but they definitely do service a lot of graduate students. How many of you want to make connections with programs and services that really focus on diverse populations on campus? It should be all of you, really, no matter who you are. Well, the Dean of Students, they are here. The Dean of Students includes a set of diversity and inclusion and social justice departments, such as the Center for LGBTQIA+ Student Success, Multicultural Student Affairs, the Margaret Sloss Women's Center, Student Accessibility Services for students who have a documented disability, and in the International Students and Scholars Office. Again, with the Dean of Students, some of you might want to utilize or gain experiences with academic support services. Show of hands, maybe you do, maybe you don't. The Dean of Students also houses the Academic Success Center as well as the Writing and Media Center. And then some of you might at some point need to register for classes, see your grades, or turn in grades if you're teaching. Show of hands. I think you probably will need to turn in grades or to see your grades. So the Office of the Registrar manages university course offerings, assesses tuition and fees, as well as graduation records. How many of you will maybe attend a student organization meeting, visit the bookstore, or search for those yummy dining options? Everybody. Well, the Memorial Union is really the hub of activity for students, and they are a part of student affairs. And then some of you might be unsure where to go. You're not clear. Where do I go for help? Well, the Dean of Students office and the Student Assistance Department within the Dean of Students can help you. So my point is, student affairs is for all students, not just undergraduate students. We're available to help all students, and we're really rededicating our efforts to make sure that you know that. So before I wrap up, I want to emphasize as you start this journey at Iowa State, you're going to hear about the ISU principles of community. The principles are respect, purpose, cooperation, diversity and inclusion, freedom from discrimination, and honesty and respect for others. Just sounds like words right now, right? But I want to take a few minutes to actually show you a short video where we've actually worked with students to bring the principles of community to life. So we'll go ahead and run that video now, and then I'll be right back to close out. Hopefully, this is where I cross my fingers. Oh, she has to come up. Gotcha. This is actually our first attempt at bringing this to life. So you'll see it in print on posters, but there it is. Can we turn up the sound a little, maybe?
Or to experience every season of weather possible. Or maybe you want to create, develop, and improve science, technology, the human experience, or 1,000 other disciplines.
You've come here from all over the state, nation, and world, and you're going to do major things.
Congratulations. You've picked a pretty great place to do just that.
In 2005, our student body government began to formalize the 6 ideals Iowa State uses to create a welcoming community: respect, richness of diversity, purpose, collaboration, freedom from discrimination, and honest and respectful expression of ideas.
These 6 ideals became the principles of community, which guide all of our campus actions. With students,
Faculty.
and animals,
At Iowa State, we foster an open-minded, respectful understanding among all of us. You'll meet people with different ideas, feelings, wishes, traditions, and experiences.
we recognize and cherish the richness of diversity on our campus. Our differences don't stop us from working, learning, and living together.
Instead, our differences make our community stronger. Students at Iowa State are engaged in the university community.
We all have a purpose on campus. For some of us, it's building our community and promoting the advancement of knowledge, cooperation, and leadership.
For others, it's catching the snitch.
That purpose is enhanced when we collaborate together to achieve our goals.
That's why we value each member of the Iowa State community for their insights and efforts to enhance the quality of campus life.
There are some real historical and divisive biases in our society.
We know the biases in our society aren't just around sports teams.
They're shaped by who we are, where we're from, and so much more.
At Iowa State, we're committed to overcoming those biases.
In our community, all students, faculty, staff, and administration can work together in an atmosphere free from discrimination.
We promote awareness of various ideas through education.
And work together to converse around our disagreements. Share, and debate ideas with courtesy, sensitivity, and respect.
Even when we disagree. Here's University Counsel Michael Norton to explain.
As a state public university, Iowa State is governed by the First Amendment of the Constitution. We have a legal obligation, and as one of our core values, the responsibility to protect and promote free expression on our campus. Because of this, the university cannot restrict speech or punish a speaker, even when we disagree with what is being said or are offended by the ideas or the viewpoint of the person or group speaking. Even if we don't agree, we don't have to be disagreeable. We can listen and strive for understanding, even where agreement is not possible.
You can tell we think the honest and free exchange of ideas is pretty important.
It's up to you to keep our community strong. Because no matter where you live or how you get around,
By bus.
By board.
My unicycle.
as long as you don't step on the zodiac,
And support these 6 ideals with each person you meet.
your adventure at Iowa State will be unforgettable.
Thank you. So this is really a light way to really show what we value, what's important to us as a campus. So I appreciate you watching that video. You'll probably see it again in different places. And I want to, again, wish you success as your journey as a graduate student continues on. And again, I want to say the Division of Student Affairs is here to serve you. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Harmon. Our last speaker on the program, I have a little tiny extra bonus for you after this speaker, but our last speaker on the program is Noran Chaudhry, who's the GPSS president. The GPSS is the Graduate and Professional Student Senate. It's your student government body that represents graduate education on campus. Noran?
Good evening, Assalamu alaikum, Namaste, Ni hao, and a lot of different welcomes in a lot of different languages that you all are going to teach me. Welcome to an amazing ISU experience that you are going to get over however many years you plan to stay with us. I represent graduate and professional students, and one of the major part of our job is to be here for you, to be listened to every kind of experience that you go through during your graduate degree, and to be able to give voice to your concerns and to be able to present our services in such a way that makes your experience without any problem. And as part of that experience, I have a wonderful team of senators and my executives who work with me. So I'm going to take a moment and introduce them right here. I have Joshua Wolanek, he's the Vice President of GPSS. I have Amanda Rees, who's going to be heading our University Relations and Legislative Affairs. I have Sophie, right here, is the Chief Information Officer. She keeps track of all the senators, and she ensures that all the technology works fine so that we don't run into any problems. We have Michael, who is our Treasurer. Niranjanam, you're going to be listening a lot from her. She is our head for the Graduate and Professional Student Research Conference that we all would very much like for you to attend and to participate in and to be able to talk about your research with all of the other students. At the same time, we're going to be hosting a fall social this Saturday, August 25th at 11:30 a.m. at Brookside Park, Hickory Shelter, to welcome all the new students and the returning students. It's an excellent opportunity to get introduced to all of the current students, learn from their experiences, and have a small social group. Because as graduate students, we know we dedicate most of our times in the labs, and we love it that way because we know we're going to be publishing papers and going to have a career. But at the same time, our mental health, our wellness is much more important. And finding a support network is much more important than that. So as you go through your journey, you're going to be introduced to a warm and welcoming Ames community, and we are big on being there for you. So shoot us an email, contact us through a website, or if you want to just hang out for a cup of coffee, we're all here for you, and we're all here to listen to everything that you have to say. From all of us at GPSS, welcome to ISU.
Okay, I promised you a bonus. This won't take long, but I really wanted to let especially our international students know that we recognize that it can be particularly challenging to adjust to both graduate school and coming to a new country, all at the same time. So at the Graduate College, we have been trying to identify students from various countries around the world who have been here on campus a little while, who will help you make that adjustment. And I have one person that I'd just like to ask to come up, Steve Shen. Steve, where are you? There you are. Steve is a second-year math student, and he is from China. He realizes, in retrospect, looking back, the challenges that he faced as a new graduate student from China. And I know we have plenty of other new graduate students from China that have just joined us this fall. So Steve is going to be working with us in the Graduate College as a resource to help you, if you're from China, or really if you're from anywhere, adjust to campus. And for those of you who are from a different country other than China, we have other students, but Steve was available tonight, and he agreed to come, and he's going to say a few words. Steve?
Thank you for the introduction. So good evening, everyone. 大家晚上好. I'm Steve Shen. I'm a second-year PhD student in Math Department, and I'm from China, as Dr. Graves says. So I came to America 5 years ago as an international student, and at the beginning, I have to admit that I have problem with adjust to the environment in America. I had problem talking to my professor or communicating with my roommate, or even try to figure out how the washing machine works. That took me a while, I had to admit. So I think I understand it might be difficult to face the transaction between two environments, such as Chinese and Americans. So I'm glad that I have the opportunity to stand here and talk to you, and I'm glad that I have this opportunity to help the international student throughout the semester. And I encourage you to talk to me if you have any question after this orientation. And I hope that in the near future I can have the chance to set up connection with some of the international students over here. And I hope that I can offer help to at least some of you. Thank you.
So I'll just conclude by saying, if you're an international student and you need any kind of assistance, don't hesitate to stop in the Graduate College. My door is always open. It's 1137 Pearson Hall, and my staff and I will be very happy to help you regardless of whatever the issue might be. That applies to domestic students as well. But we do have these student peer mentors who will be assisting international students that we hope will be especially helpful for international students. Before we move on, I don't want to forget to thank a few people who helped make this evening possible. One is Judy Strand, who's an employee in the Graduate College. Judy, would you stand? Judy has been organizing this event for a long time, for months, especially the last several weeks, but it's been going on for months, along with Joshua, who was introduced earlier from the GPSS, who's been her main partner in organizing this event. And we'd like your feedback, so after you leave this evening, by the way, don't leave quite yet because there's a lot more to come, because you can visit all of the resource tables around in a minute, but before you leave, please, or as you're leaving, please reflect on how this evening went, what you got out of it, how it could have been better perhaps, what we could do next year or next semester to make it an even more useful event, and let us know. So, as we conclude tonight, I just want to remind you that we have all kinds of resources in the room for you to draw upon and help you with information on everything from the Center for Communications Excellence in the Graduate College, which is over here to my left, the Graduate Center, the Career Center. Karen Lawton Dunn heads that. So it's not too early, even though you're just starting your graduate degree program, to think about your career options and start strategizing your graduate education experience to set you up for that career that you're seeking. Karen is great at helping students navigate all kinds of different career possibilities. The Department of Public Safety is in the back of the room. We only think about the police force and the public safety officers maybe when there's an emergency typically, but they're here to serve us and to help us feel safe on campus. And so please stop back and say hello to the officer who's here representing the police department, and feel comfortable talking to our security and safety officers. We have representatives from the health center. Are they over here? Yes. So definitely stop by and visit them. The International Students and Scholars Office over here, Krista. Office of Equal Opportunity, I think, yes, back in the corner. Thank you. Parks Library. Recreation Services, back there. Student Counseling, right next door. The Diversity Office, back there as well. And various representatives from the Graduate College beyond the two that I introduced. Student Services Director Sebastian Spear, for example, over in the corner. And lastly, I'll introduce the Associate Dean of the Graduate College, Dr. Carolyn Cutrona, who is here to answer any questions and assist you as well. Her background is in psychology, and she's been on campus for a long time, like I have. And we look forward to the opportunity to help you navigate graduate school and assist you in any way possible. Last but not least, there is one more person back in the corner, Thelma Harding. She's waving back there. Thelma works in the Graduate College, and she assists us in so many ways, but among them are inclusion, diversity, welcoming, and really making campus feel like a home for every student that passes through our doors and passes through anywhere on campus. My office is next door to Thelma's, and I witness every day groups of students and individual students coming in to see her, and I understand the great support that she provides. So get to know Thelma. She's a fantastic resource that you'll want to take advantage of. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Welcome to Iowa State. Welcome to being a graduate student. It's going to be an exciting few years of your life. And we're so glad that you decided to choose Iowa State University. Thank you.